Okay. So now the prompt comes again. It's a little different. Webinar is now streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I just started. And now it should be actively recording. So you're all set whenever you want to start.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7 p.m. We'll call to order this meeting of the Town Council of Little Compton. Our first item of business is to take a roll call of councilors present. Councilor Golembeski.
Here.
Councilor Mataronis.
Present.
Councilor Moore.
Here.
Councilor Wallach.
Here.
And Councilor Mushin here. We have all 5 members are in attendance. Our first item of business this evening is the continuation of a public hearing on a proposed amendment to the Little Compton Town Code, Chapter 14, the zoning code, proposing to expand the business zone for Plat 30, Lot 8-1. That's the lot on which Wilbur Store sits. We extended this public hearing, or rather continue this public hearing for the purpose of allowing notification of abutters. And so we would particularly want to, at this point, ask if there are any abutters or any other citizen who wishes to offer comment regarding this matter.
I see no hands raised. You should have received in your packet a letter from one of the abutters.
Yes.
Preston Post Limited.
Yes. So the letter from Preston Post, the managing partner, James Lemos, in essence says, with respect to the matter before us, he has no issue with our approval. He further requests that we consider doing the same to his lot, which is the lot immediately south of this one. I would propose, having spoken with the solicitor about this matter, that we deal with the matter before us and then in a separate action undertake Mr. Lemos's request to be also considered for a similar consideration. So I hear no public comment, and so I solicit a motion that we close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to close the public hearing. Is there any comment by the council? We'll ask for a roll call vote then. Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Councilor Wallach.
Aye.
Councilor Mushin, aye. The public hearing is now closed. I would entertain a motion to approve the request to move the business zone in Lot 8-1.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion is made by Mataronis, second by Moore. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote. Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Wallach.
Aye.
Councilor Mushin, aye. So the matter is approved to move the boundary of Lot 8-1, to move the boundary of the business zone in Lot 8-1 to the lot line, the easternmost lot line of Lot 8-1. Now, the advice that the solicitor gave to me was that Mr. Lemos would follow basically the same process that Mr. Wardell's request did for his lot. And it appears to me that all relevant notifications, et cetera, would be very similar. So with respect to Mr. Lemos's request to be considered for the business zone to also be altered in his lot, is there a motion to take the action? Well, let's just first of all have discussion. Is there any issue with that request?
I don't have any issue with it, but I think it'd be pertinent for him to go through the same process that the Wardells did. I mean, I don't want to just say, okay, because Lot 8-1 is okay, then Lot 8-2 is okay too, because I don't think we have that information in front of us. So I think that he has to go through the same procedure that the Wardells did. And then after he does that, come back to the council for approval.
Yes.
Yes.
Nor is the matter on our agenda, so we're not able to vote on that matter. Yes, the town clerk.
The beginning of the process that Mr. Wardell followed was submitting a letter, much like the letter that Mr. Preston has, asking you to take that up for consideration. At
Yeah.
which point you then made a choice to put it to a public hearing, and we followed that process.
Yes,
He has taken the first step. He's asked you to consider
yes,
extend it in his, so your next step is indeed to consider whether or not you want to schedule a public hearing.
precisely. Yep, exactly.
And
Thank-
and that is on the agenda.
Yep,
Carol, did the Wardells have to go to the planning board?
No.
No. Okay, so
The-
just like from the letter right to a public hearing.
What happens is when you schedule a public hearing, we then send it to the planning board and ask them to comment on that subject. It's the,
Okay, I'll make a motion to hold a public hearing then.
Second.
the motion that is made by Mataron, second by Moore, to conduct a public hearing after appropriate notifications and advertising for the petition of James Lemos for extension of the business zone in Lot 8-2 to the easternmost boundary of Lot 8-2.
I've got a question regarding how this
ahead.
process worked this time around. Carol might know. Last time it seemed like we were ready to vote on it, but there was no feedback yet from the neighbors. Were we just late in asking for feedback, or is that just the way? the
yes,
process-
it was entirely my error. I
Oh,
forgot
okay,
to fill out the certified letters.
okay. So we
That
might
won't
be able
happen
to do it.
That
we might
won't
be able
happen
to do
this
it
time.
One public hearing next time.
That's what we would expect.
It was my error.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, let's, then we'll take a roll call vote on the motion. Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Aye.
Mullock,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. So the motion passes and the clerk will initiate the similar procedure to what was done for Lot 8-1. And we will return to a future meeting following those notifications and publication in the newspaper to hold the public hearing.
Mhm.
I didn't look to see, is Mr. Lemos with us this evening?
I just lost half of my computer, so if you give me a moment to get it back.
All right, so we'll make you aware of that decision.
No, he is not.
Thank you. Anything further on that matter then? All right, the next item of business is approval of the minutes of January 21st.
Motion to approve the January 21st, 2021 minutes unless anybody has any questions or comments on them.
Second.
Motion's made by Counselor Mataronis, second by Golembeski to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Aye.
Mullock,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The next item before us is announcements. I have a couple that I'd like to, three actually, I'd like to make. The first is this one. Next, a week from, 2 weeks from this evening, 2 weeks from this evening on February 18th, we will begin a 20 vaccinations per week regime that seeks to inoculate against the COVID-19 virus all persons 75 and over. We're doing that through a regional pod, a regional point of dispensing process in which the towns of Tiverton and Little Compton have agreed together to host at Tiverton High School a combination pod, a combination point of dispensing vaccination effort. 20 individuals by age are being contacted or have already been contacted to secure their appointments for that evening. That process will be continued sorry, not for the evening. It's 11 to 3 on that day, but for that day. Between 11 and 3 o'clock on that day, 20 individuals in that category from Little Compton are expected to be vaccinated. And that process will continue each Thursday from 11 to 3 until the entire cohort of people has been vaccinated. Now, if someone chooses to be vaccinated another way and therefore gets vaccinated earlier, that process can complete earlier. But what we're expecting is that's the process. Why 20? Because that's our allocation. Our weekly allocation of COVID-19 vaccine for the town of Little Compton is 20, and we're investing those 20 in the 75 and older cohort of people in town. The fire chief is with us. Anything that you'd want to add to that, Chief Petrin?
Mr. President, the only thing going forward after the 18th, the clinics are going to run from 3 to 7 because school's going to be in session. So the first one is 11 to 3 because school's out on that week. But going forward, it's going to be 3 to 7.
3 to 7 on those days.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So it'll be each Thursday until that routine is completed. The second thing I'd like to emphasize to you is that's the thing we've been waiting for. Meanwhile, what do? Let me encourage you once again. You've probably heard it from 100 different places. Carry a mask with you and put it on when you need to put it on. Stay distant from other people that you don't live with. If you're in a store, put the mask on and stay distant from people. It's just not rocket science, but it's the best thing we've got in the absence of getting everyone vaccinated. So please continue to adhere to that. The third thing I'd like to talk to you just a moment about in the way of announcements is taken from the Declaration of Independence, believe it or not. Here's what it says. We hold these truths, we, the founders of the country, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That was how we began as a country. That wasn't perfect. It said all men. We changed that. It said unalienable rights. We've fiddled around the edges with that. We've said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And yet a certain set of people that were in the United States when that was said were not at liberty. And those people were freed from that. But here's my point. That remains an issue. Let me circle back to the middle of the statement, which says they're endowed by their creator with these rights. It acknowledges the fact that there is a creator, and that creator created people to be that way, to have certain rights. That's their understanding. It was imperfect. It's been altered. It's been changed. But here's what hasn't changed. The fact is, it's not about yard signs. It's not about political preference. It's not about what color my skin is or your skin is. It's not about what I put on social media. What it's really about is a heart attitude. It's really about me and what my heart attitude is toward another person. And I would simply encourage every citizen of Little Compton to consider that, and if necessary, to change that, or to seek at least to change that heart attitude. If you're somebody who feels toward another person a way that you don't feel toward most other people, then I ask you, examine that and see if that needs to be changed, because that's where it starts. It doesn't start by defacing something or stealing something or doing something else. The departments of the town are working in that direction, and I would encourage the citizens as well. Any other announcements?
Just a wow for a minute there. And then in the vaccination realm,
Yeah,
you said 75 and older. I've had questions already from some of my senior clients about, well, I'm 80, I'm not 75. Does that put me ahead of a 78-year-old and so that question has come up. So
yes. An excellent question. Of course, an 80-year-old is superior to a 78-year-old. No, the intention, the process by which we're doing this is by age. Many have said we ought to try other little techniques. We are simply saying, if you're the oldest remaining unvaccinated person in town, you're at the top of our list. How do we know that? We're using voter rolls. If you're not registered to vote in town, you need to contact the clerk's office to say, I'm not registered in town to vote, but I'm 93 and I'd like to be on the list. So that's how it goes. It goes by age and age alone at this point.
thank you, sir.
Please, clerk or fire chief, correct me if there's anything.
I just wanted to clarify that they need to be residing in Little Compton. There may be others watching this thinking, yay, I can call Little Compton, but they must be residing in Little Compton.
Well said. This is our process for the citizens of Little Compton. Okay. Then the next item is department head reports, and our past practice has been to consider them in a group. We have reports from the police, the clerk, from the police chief, the town clerk, the fire chief, the tax assessor, and the town administrator. If there
Motion to approve all the department head reports unless anybody has any questions or comments on those.
Second,
motion's made by Monroe, second by Moore to approve all those reports and place them on file. Is there any discussion? We'll ask for a roll call vote. Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Moore,
aye.
Wallach,
Aye.
Russian, aye. Thank you. The administrator, who was not able to be with us due to a late breaking assignment that he had to meet in Bristol, asked that you be aware that the budgets are in item 1 of his report, and the notebooks are available for your perusal. We'll plan at least at the next meeting to consider the budget. We may need to schedule additional meetings if the past is any precedent to what we've had to do in the earlier. But at least at the next meeting, be ready to have looked at that book and be ready with any questions you might have. Old business, the next category. First item is to receive proposals for engineering services related to Wilbur Woods.
I have 2 proposals that have been received. One from Civil Engineering, and it has a total cost of $31,500. The second one is from Able Engineering, and that total fee is $17,500.
Our past practice has been to refer these to the administrator for a recommendation. Is that your pleasure?
Yeah, I'll move that only because that's a huge number difference between the two.
Yeah.
And I'd like to sit in on that with the administrator to go over it, being on the committee for Wilbur Woods, please.
And obviously, the Director of Public Works should be in on that too. I was trying to suggest you be on that, Paul, because that's your realm of.
Okay.
Just your realm, I guess.
My realm. So I guess that's a motion. Carol, did I make a motion?
Your kingdom.
There's one, sir. Go
I
ahead.
second that motion.
Councilor Golembeski moves and Councilor Mataronis seconds the motion that we refer this matter to the town administrator, Councilor Golembeski, and the Public Works Director for their review and return to the council with a recommendation. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote then. Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Wallach,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The next is to receive letters of interest for residents to sit on the Charter Review Commission. 3 remaining seats open, 4 have been filled. And in our packet, we have an application for appointment from Michelle Stecker. I'm aware of no others. Is that still
Not
true?
at the moment.
I have a pending one, but I'm not at liberty to say who the individual is until that person fishes or cuts bait. Sorry, Mr. Mataronis.
Motion to appoint Michelle Stecker to the Charter Review Commission.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Counselor Mataronis, second by Golembeski to appoint Michelle Stecker to the Charter Review Commission. Further discussion. A roll call vote. Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Wallach,
Aye.
Russian, aye. Thank you. The next item of business is new business, a request from the IAFF Local Number 3957, the firefighters, to begin negotiations for the renewal of the collective bargaining agreement. I would propose that we would respond and that we would approve the initiation of negotiations and direct the town council president to contact the local to commence the process.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Counselor Wallach,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The next item of business is to make recommendations for compensation for the elected town clerk. And that recommendation goes to the Budget Committee per Home Rule Charter, Section 502B2. The town administrator and I have deliberated and would propose that the compensation that we recommend to the Budget Committee for the town clerk is $59,500.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
The motion is made by Counselor Mataronis and seconded by Counselor Golembeski to approve the the recommendation of the Budget Committee of a salary of $59,500 for the town clerk. Is there discussion?
I think Carol deserves that because she's the one taking care of all the Zoom meetings for everybody. So I think she deserves to get the compensation that we're requesting.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We'll ask for a roll call vote. Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Counselor Wallach,
Aye.
Counselor Mushin, aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next is a memo from the town administrator supplying an updated Republic Services contract for hauling waste from the transfer station. If I could quickly summarize what it gives us, it puts a 3% cap vice no cap, which the previous contract had, on the amount by which Republic can propose an increase. It puts a constraint on Republic to request, or to notify us rather, of their intention to raise the cap or to raise the fees by December 31st of any year for the upcoming year, which enables us to not be surprised in the middle of a fiscal year, or in some cases in the middle of a budget cycle, with a change in the number. And finally, it also reimburses us for the charges that they imposed on us that don't meet those criteria in the recent past. That is, they are going to refund a portion of our hauling fee. Now, just to be clear, what we pay Republic is a fee to take our trash, whether it's recycled, solid waste, construction debris, whatever it is, take it from Little Compton to Johnston. And that's the contract that we're talking about. So he has reported in his document to you that he was under a time constraint to sign that document and did so on January 22nd in order to be able to get the adjustments that he was seeking to make. So I would ask for a motion to approve the action of the town administrator in negotiating and signing a contract with Republic Services.
So move. So move.
No, I thought Anya was gonna second, so I just
okay.
didn't say anything.
Second that,
There
sorry.
you go.
Then it's moved by Counselor Mataronis, seconded by Counselor Wallach, that that motion be approved. Is there further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Aye.
Wallach,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The next item of business is that of communication. It's an abatement request from the tax assessor.
I did talk to the tax assessor about this, and obviously it's pretty self-explanatory, where he was taking off the soldiers and sailors exemption. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the abatement.
Second.
Motion is made by Mataronis, second by Moore, to approve the abatement of the request of the assessor. Is there further discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Counselor Wallach,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The second communication issue is an electronic communication received from Gabe Murnoff, writing as a member of the Rhode Island Homeless Bill of Rights Defense Committee. He is requesting that the town repeal sections of the town code and details those sections for us. I would propose that this be referred to the town administrator and solicitor and have them return to a subsequent meeting to provide us with their recommendation. But, you know,
Well,
I'll move that, but I think a
I'll
discussion.
second it.
the motion is made and seconded to refer the matter to the town administrator solicitor to return with a recommendation. And
I spoke to Chief Raines today about this. I'd like to have him say a few words on his thoughts, since it's deals with his department, and he and I kind of agreed on it. My thought was, this is another situation like the state does to us. They think we're just a couple of, a bunch of bumbling idiots down here, and they're always pushing something down on us and say, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, or we don't think you're doing that right. It keeps happening. This is another situation where somebody doesn't think we know what we're doing with our ordinances, albeit they are old ordinances. I won't deny that. But, once this starts and we say, okay, you want us to do this, we're going to do everything you want us to do, then what's the next group that's going to come along and say the same thing? If we allow that one to do it, then it's going to be the whole situation where everybody's going to come in front of us. Well, we don't like that ordinance. We want that changed. Well, you did it for these last two people. So, I mean, these were made by people that were competent at the time. I think it should be, some kind of input from the chief. I don't have a problem putting it to the town administrator. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in with it. I don't think this is a problem in town. I don't think we have homeless people in town. And I think the police officers have enough compassion and common sense to deal with each one of them on a case-by-case basis. And I would really doubt that any of those officers would have, be wanting to put anybody in jail. Now, I'm not sure how far this goes. If somebody's sleeping in a car and they get obstinate and they start giving the police officer a problem, and we take out the arrest process in this, does this mean that he's not going to get arrested, or will that take some other situation to rectify? So, I mean, that's my 2 cents. So maybe the chief would like to speak on it. Thank you.
Chief Raines.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Gary. I was forwarded the letter and immediately went to the town ordinance to take a look at what it actually says. And I think right off the bat, I think we all agree that the ordinance might be a bit aged, so to speak. A town ordinance that covers disorderly conduct, I think, is very infrequently used. It certainly hasn't been used in my little over a year and a half. A quick search of our records tells us we haven't used it in quite some time. We haven't located any use of it. And if the police department is going to charge anyone with disorderly conduct, we would certainly use the Rhode Island general laws 1145-1 to make that charge. And then, the process through the courts and let them handle it along that line. As Gary had mentioned, if we're going to come upon someone obviously sleeping at the beach, sleeping somewhere in town, and they're obviously homeless or having some kind of difficulties, my hope, and I feel very confident in the fact that we would certainly use compassion and our discretion, and again, common sense. I hate to throw out common sense, but we would certainly use that to ascertain the issue, and we would be more likely to try to assist the person and get them some help and get them out of the situation they're in than charge them with disorderly conduct. So my thought on changing the ordinance is I don't think it's necessary because we very rarely use it. And I'm not saying that we would never use it, but I just think it's a bit aged, and we would certainly find other avenues to either charge or assist whomever we're dealing with.
Thank you.
If I may.
Any other comment? Yes, please.
My only concern is the inference of the letter is we might be violating state law. And that would be my first major concern. Is anything in our ordinance in conflict with state law? That's what I'd like the solicitor and the chief to really concentrate on. Other than that, I kind of go along with Gary and the chief. I mean, we're not really, I don't know how to phrase it. We don't have a rampant problem where it's being used or abused or we have that problem. And I think the chief goes way back. I mean, we've talked about people having their mobile condos and sleeping in their cars, but mostly it's an alcohol related event. It's not a homeless event. But again, my contention is I think it should be researched to see if there's any violation with state law. And if not, I think it's pretty much leave it be.
Any other comments?
I certainly agree with that. I think the solicitor, once we get his opinion on whether we're violating anything or not, then I think we can move on from there.
As the chief mentioned, my first thought when I read this letter is that, it is an old ordinance. It does seem to hark back to a different time in our town. And it seems like a lot of our ordinances are of the same ilk. They seem, a lot of ordinances that we have that we don't necessarily enforce do seem to come from, a different time in our town's history. I think it's worth looking at it just to update it and bring it up to current times. So I do, I support looking at it and considering it and sending it to the solicitor and the chief to see what their thoughts are on it. And I also do support Paul's thought that, if there is any conflict with state law, then we should certainly consider that as well.
Okay. Good.
I agree. And I think I don't disagree with anything that anybody said. I think if there's a way to update this or any ordinance that we have to better reflect current reality and practice, that makes sense. Whether we do this one in isolation, whether it makes sense to do this one, I think we should continue to discuss. But I think if we can update things to reflect current practice, that would be better.
Great. All right. Are you ready to vote then on the motion? Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Councillor Wallach.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. Good comments and good advice. The final item is the payment of bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Councillor Mataronis, second by Golembeski to pay the bills. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Councillor Wallach.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. That concludes our business, and in the absence of anything more before us, I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.